Alex ran, lungs burning, legs trembling. But no matter how fast he went, the shadows followed. Alex woke up in the world of Minecraft and everything seemed ordinary. He stood in front of his small wooden cabin, scanning the surroundings. The sky was covered with gray clouds and the air was eerily still. Suddenly, he heard a faint hum. Was it the wind? He couldn't be sure, but this hum was different from the usual sounds of nature. It was as if something was whispering. An inexplicable fear crept inside him, but he shook it off, grabbing his axe and heading into the forest to gather wood. As he walked through the trees, he noticed that the world was quieter than usual. No animal sounds. Not a sheep or a chicken. Only the hum, coming from somewhere in the distance. After a while, he came across a tunnel, perfectly carved out in a 2x2 shape, stretching out in a straight line. As he ventured deeper into the tunnel, the hum grew louder. The walls were covered in strange symbols, shapes that made no sense. He felt a growing sense of unease, but instead of turning back, he continued forward. The tunnel suddenly opened into a large cavern. In the middle stood a sand pyramid rising from the ground. Hanging from it was a wooden sign. It bore only 2 words: "Find me." Who was this message for? Who was it speaking to? He circled the pyramid, searching for an entrance. He found a narrow doorway at the back. As he stepped inside, the hum ceased. A sudden silence fell. At the end of the narrow corridor, there was another room. In the center was a glowing gold block. Alex approached it cautiously. Just as he was about to touch it, he heard a sound behind him. He spun around, but no one was there. Then, in the corner of the room, a pair of white eyes gleamed. Cold, empty, expressionless eyes. They stared at him, unblinking. Alex stumbled backward, heart racing. The figure in the shadows began to glide toward him. Herobrine. The name echoed in his mind. He had heard the legends but dismissed them as just stories. Yet here it was, standing before him. Alex turned to escape, but the door was gone. The walls closed in and the room was shrinking. Herobrine moved closer, silent and fluid as if floating. His eyes were hollow, void of any life. Alex was frozen in place, unable to move. Those eyes had him trapped. Herobrine stood directly in front of him, staring into his soul, then vanished. The walls suddenly crumbled, and Alex found himself back in the forest. But this wasn't the forest he knew. The trees were leafless, their trunks blackened. The sky was pitch dark, void of any light. Everything was shrouded in darkness. Alex ran, not knowing where he was going, only knowing he had to get away. As he navigated through the forest, shadows danced around him. He felt watched, hunted. The hum returned, closer and more sinister than before. When he looked back, he saw the shadows changing form. Herobrine's silhouette, crafted from darkness itself, was approaching. Alex ran, lungs burning, legs trembling. But no matter how fast he went, the shadows followed. They weaved through the trees, blocking his path. He dashed into a tunnel, dark and cold. The walls were lined with stone, but between the stones, lights flickered, white lights. Eyes. They watched him from within the walls. Everywhere he looked, those eyes were staring at him. The tunnel led to a vast room similar to the one with the golden block. But this time, in the center was a black portal, swirling with dark smoke. The smoke moved, forming shapes. Herobrine's face appeared within the portal, his eyes as empty and lifeless as before. He watched Alex from within the darkness. Suddenly, hands made of smoke reached out from the portal. Long, shadowy hands grabbed at Alex. He tried to run, but they seized him. They were cold and unyielding. He struggled, fought to break free, but their grip only tightened. Herobrine stepped out of the portal, moving slowly, deliberately. He stood before Alex, saying nothing, just staring. Those eyes pierced through him, draining his will. Then, Herobrine raised his hand and touched Alex's forehead. Everything went black. Alex tried to scream, but no sound came out. As his vision faded, Herobrine's hollow eyes burned into his memory. In the darkness, a voice echoed, "You can't escape. You found me." Alex woke up in front of his wooden cabin. Everything was normal. The sky was blue, the trees were green. But the fear lingered. Was it a nightmare, or was it real? He walked into his cabin and found a wooden sign on the table. It bore only one word, "I'm here." Alex stepped outside, eyes scanning the forest. In the shadows, two white eyes gleamed. Herobrine watched him from the darkness. He blinked, and the eyes were gone. But he knew. Herobrine hadn't left. He was always there, watching from the shadows, lurking in the darkness. If you ever see those eyes in Minecraft, don't think you can escape, because Herobrine never leaves. He's always there,